Halloween.
Forever.
Hey, welcome, guys. Hey, I know the holidays were just behind us. We just passed them, right? Man, cautionary tale I got for you guys regarding some gift purchasing. I bought my blind friend a cheese grater for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you follow so far?
I'm with you.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. He said it was the most violent book he's ever read. Boys and girls, to another fucking episode of Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Steve.
That was an all right one. That was okay. He thought he's blind. He thought it was a book, but it was sharp and had little points and stuff that hurt his hands. Yeah. That was a Helen Keller joke that I turned into it was my friend.
Right.
On account of it didn't make sense otherwise. Guys, it's pertinent. So at least give me that. We are talking about a movie tonight, a punishment episode. Here we are, guys. We are talking about a movie from 2015 that is called Helen Keller versus Nightwolves. I know we're going to talk about it. We usually don't talk a ton about the movie at the top of the show, but I got to say, I never even heard of this goddamn movie.
Oh, yeah?
Before it was suggested. It has just completely flown under the radar for me. Is this something you were familiar with? It seems like you were familiar with, at least to some degree.
Yeah, so I had seen it before, and like I've actually followed this writer-director's career as short as it is, and like I we'll probably talk more about it again once we get into the episode. But he took a very interesting trajectory in his carear. But I was
just doing a little IMDb digging, and I could tell that. Yeah.
But I had actually seen some of his other films first. Back in like 2012, 2013, I'd seen some of his other films first, and then this one came out 2015. So. Yeah.
It was I didn't know what to expect. I mean, you kind of know, at least to a certain extent, what to expect when you see a title like that. But I don't think I expected it to the degree that it came at me. So we'll talk about what that means here in a second, guys. By the way, this was a punishment episode from last week. So spoiler alert on this. If you didn't listen to the showdown, which I think ended up getting chopped up into three little kind of mini-sodes because it was a long one, but also I'll explain what happened here in a second. Spoiler alert, our guest won again, which is once again fucked up. Steve and I, since we switched formats and it's me and Steve versus the guest, we've been doing real shitty. We've been doing real bad. We really got to iron some kinks out, figure out what's going on here, because the guests are coming on and swapping the deck with us. Sara Elizabeth Jackson, who's at ReAnimated Nerd on the social medias, she was our guest last week. Also, if you listen to the episode, and like I said, Steve broke it up into three different little chunks there for you and released them one at a time. You might notice that we lose Sara at one point during the episode, like the whole first part and through the second movie, like she's there, we're talking, blah, 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 and then all of a sudden she's just not there, right? And then Steve and I kind of addressed at the end. At that point, we had no idea what happened. Like we're recording here on the Discord, we're looking at each other, right, and talking and blah blah blah, and she dropped off. Okay, we figured normal. Sometimes people get disconnected. That happens from time to time. Turns out she had it was like a power outage type of situation. Very inopportune time for a power outage. Obviously, until we could go and like check our messages, after we're done recording and stuff and see what happened. Then we kind of understood that's what happened. We were most of the way, honestly, through the episode at that point, and then ultimately, when it came down to voting, it kind of didn't matter because Steve and I both voted for her movie, and she ended up winning the episode. So just a little bit of explanation, because without any context it might seem a little bit weird, but yeah, first for us, a power outage mid recording there. But in any case, it was still a lot of fun to have Sarah on. But because she won, she got to hand out some punishment. She got to deal us dirty here, and she picked a movie which I will say is dirty. The way she put it is like, I just want to expose people to this, which I can understand that sentiment. But that's when she let us know about Helen Keller versus Nightwolves from 2015. We'll get into that in a second. We got some fucking things we got to do at the top of the show here first. First of all, as always, if you want to follow the show, if you want to suggest topics to us, if you want to suggest showdown topics, this was our Giallo January. We're still in Giallo January. If you want to suggest topics to put on the spinny old wheel, which we're actually going to spin here in a dang old second, you can do that. You can suggest minisodes to us, any number of things. Just see some spooky shit on the internet. Go ahead and check us out over on the social medias. We're at Halloween is Forever pretty much everywhere, at Hallow Forever on Twitter. Or if you want to send us one of them fucking old-fashioned emails, you can do that as well. It's halloweensforeverpod@gmail.com.
Guess what, Brian?
What happened?
We have made it to the elite of the elite. We're now on Blue Sky.
Holy shit. You dropped just knowledge like that on me. I got a belly full of stuffed peppers. What? I don't know what that means, Steve. Honestly, I don't even know what the fuck Blue Sky is.
It's another one of those platforms that cropped up after Twitter became X, and it's on like this fucking invite only basis right now, and there's hardly anybody on it. But there's
sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean there's like still some fun people on there, like Robert C. Cargill's on there. We follow him on there. So, you can follow the writer of the Black Phone, and Alex Winter's on there. So
wow.
Yeah.
This sounds riveting. I can't wait to get on it. If you want to check us out, what's our name? What's our handle over there?
That's the other thing is like it's not real easy to do the handles because it is Halloween is Forever.
Wow, you're really selling this hard for me. I can't wait to get on this.
Well,
it's hard to find people you like. There's no one there. It sucks.
Here's the thing. We were on the wait list before there was Threads.
There's a wait list for this piece of shit?
You had, like I said, it's invite only. So you either got invites from people who were on there, or you were on a wait list. We came up in the wait list, but we've been on that wait list before Threads. So, I don't know. There's still like nobody on there.
Yeah. It sounds, I'm gonna be honest, awful.
It's not great.
But if you are on, what's it called again? I already forgot.
Blue Sky.
Blue check mark?
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky. Go check out Blue Sky. We're on there. We'll be that other guy. It'll just be me. It'll just be us and you.
Yeah.
So check us out over there.
You can get all of my attention on Blue Sky because there's nobody else there.
Steve's just in there just whistling.
Hell yeah.
Just standing there whistling in a big wide open room.
I haven't felt like I've been posting the live journal, since live journal, but this is what it is. Just posting the live journal, or what was the other one? Just like Zanga, just throwing up fucking.
Oh God, I don't even know that one.
Yeah.
That's a new one to me.
Yeah, you just throwing up garbage and just like who cares? Nobody sees it. You see
screaming into the void, hoping somebody responds back.
Yeah, just look at it for yourself.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys. How about let's talk about something that doesn't suck ass. It's Patreon. Patreon.com/Halloween is Forever. Head on over there. We got a dang old Patreon now. A couple things you can get if you go over to the Patreon. You can subscribe at the $3 a month or $5 a month level. Hey, that $3 a month level, fuck it. That's dumb. We got to do that $5 a month level because you get all the things you get for the $3 a month level. Plus, you can come over. Is the Discord part of the $3 a month level?
No.
I forget. No. See, that's what I was going to say. You can come. Yeah, you cheap fucks. Come over and give us $5 a month. It's two more monies. Only two more monies.
Mm-hmm.
You can come on over and you can watch us record in the Discord. You can interact with us as we're recording live, and you get access to our Patreon exclusive podcast called Family is Forever, wherein Steve makes me watch all the Fast and the Furious movies, and they're shit. just pure oily, runny shit.
Doo-doo.
And then we make fun of them, basically.
Yeah.
And you don't have to. Here's the thing I will assure you of. And this, if I was in your shoes, would be a big, like, I would take a lot of solace in this. You don't have to watch the movies. In fact, I would urge you to not watch the movies.
It's funnier.
Now, if there is
it's
something,
funnier to not watch them.
and also, and then you don't want to harm yourself, because that's how these movies make me feel. They're hot garbage. But the conversations are really funny, and we have a lot of fun talking about them. And if you want like an extra 3 hours of our voices every month, go on over there and check it out. It's a lot of fun, and we appreciate the support as well. So,
indeed.
We got a couple other dang things we're going to do. Actually, you know what? Let's take it down a notch here. We're all fired up. We're talking about Fast and the Furious. Like I said, I got a belly full of stuffed peppers, hot, spicy stuffed peppers, and I'm just burping and being disgusting. So let's take a quick sec and talk about beers. What kind of beers you sipping on tonight, Steven?
Oh boy, you said bring it down, but this is just going to bring it up, because I'm.
Oh, your turn. Your turn. You say turn down for what, Ryan?
Yeah, I am just upset. I'm bringing a buyer beware to the show.
Oh shit. Okay, so not even in. I thought when you meant turned down, I thought it was like you're drinking some fucking Zoom juice, or Soju Steve was coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, no, it's not time for Soju Steve. I don't know when he's coming back, but he'll come back.
It's like Dude Low.
Yeah,
exactly. You don't really know when, or Cactus Jack. You don't really know when he's going to. Then he comes out and he gets a big pop and everyone goes crazy. Yeah.
Triple H, I know I'm not ready for a match with you, but I know somebody who is.
Exactly. And then you get the interview, and then he comes. Yeah, that's Soju. That's our version of Cactus Jack. Well, what terrible thing has befallen you here in the beer department?
So you know how I like my coffee drinks, and I love like the Rebel hard coffees, and I also like those PBR hard coffees when they was around.
Amen, you do.
So there's another one that came out recently. Dunkin'. Dunkin' been putting it.
Yeah. I saw people post about it. I haven't had it or anything because I'm not a piece of trash. But
yeah. Yeah. I get it. It don't make me feel bad.
I'm suggesting heavily that you drink things that make you a piece of trash. Yeah. No, but I didn't see it. You want to know why? Honestly, it's not. I'm not above that at all. But I've had the Harpoon like collab back in the day where they did that like variety pack, and they were all dog shit. So I anything Dunkin' now I like. Like they've really hurt their brand equity in my eyes. Not the Dunkin' the restaurants, but like anything you put Dunkin' Donuts on.
Yeah, I mean this has wound up hurting it for me as well, because the way these were kind of sold to me in my mind, at least, was that these were going to be kind of the Rebel hard coffee equivalents, but with just Dunkin' branding. So I got
that's what I would have guessed, right?
It's not though, because they're all carbonated. They're carbonated like a beer.
Carbonated? No shit.
And it's fucking disgusting.
I really, what a weird choice to carbonate them, especially when like low and no carbonation things are like all the rage right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
the seltzers, like, and all this stuff, like there's like new brands coming out every day, and they're all like made to they're like alcoholic, what do they call them at Starbucks? Like refreshers.
Yeah.
It's just a soft drink of some sort that might have some like green tea or caffeine in it, but then also is not carbonated.
Yeah.
Because the kids nowadays, it hurts, it tickles their sensitive noses.
It gives them the tummy
watery
bads.
eyes.
Yeah, it gives them the tummy bads. But yeah, this is...
You drink ginger ale like a fucking grown up.
I love ginger ale, but I don't love this.
Fucks. I don't know who I'm talking to, by the way, right now.
I don't know.
So it's carbonated.
Just like old people.
I'm just yelling at a cloud right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're carbonated, and the carbonation throws them off. Like it gives them just that weird feeling that like you shouldn't be drinking carbonated coffee.
No, that little carbonic bite. It's just when you're trying to replicate the character of something that you're used to drinking that isn't carbonated, and it's like drinking flat beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's going to taste weird. It's like taking, like, and most people haven't drank truly flat beer, but like, it's like taking a sample, out of the fermenter, you know what I mean? Where if you're off gassing, it truly is not carbonated. It's weird. And it doesn't even feel like beer that much.
Yeah.
So this is like the inverse of that, I would imagine.
Yeah, this is the inverse of that, of like carbonating coffee, but then like also they're just kind of gross in flavor as well. Like, it's so weird that they had the layup format of those Rebel hard coffees and the PBR hard coffees already in market. I could understand if they tried inventing these and they fucked it up. But like, you already had
they were first to the party.
Yeah. You already had a format that worked. Why did you try to do different? And they're just,
you had the blueprint. You thought you could do better. Your naivete and your arrogance have really come back to bite you, Duncan. Who makes them for him? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure it's still a Harpoon putting these up.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering if it was just like something that was like, didn't have a brewery brand associated with it, and it was just contract brewed and it was kind of under the Duncan name, or if it had a brewery associated with it.
American Spiked Beverages out of Boston. So maybe that's maybe that's a brand that Harpoon holds or something, but
yeah, I'm sure it's some sort of whatever they call their contract brewing business, whoever makes that for them. Right.
But I'll tell you so I'm so mad about these that I took one of them and I put it in a pot and just like tried to decarb it on the stove real quick. And then, and then after I when I felt like
fucking Mr. Wizard over here,
after I felt like I was satisfactorily decarbed it, I poured it into a water bottle and threw that in the freezer. It's better. Like, it's better.
Fucking Mr. Wizard in it over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no good. You shouldn't have to do that with your beverages.
No.
With your store-bought beverages.
No, but I paid $20 for a fucking variety pack and I don't want it to go to waste.
I know. It's that's the worst feeling, is when you go buy something, you buy like a 12 pack or something and you're like, this fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And then it sits in your fridge forever and ever and ever.
Yeah. What are you drinking?
Well, yeah, let me talk about something that I actually like that I'm drinking. And this is a perennial favorite for me. This is a beer, this time of year, especially with the advent of this whole dry January thing that all the kids are doing nowadays. Here's what I'd like to say about dry January. For people who do dry January, you weren't drinking in the first place. You little bitches, you little sassy little bitches. You weren't even drinking in the first place. No, I'm joking. Do your dry January for what? But it is hard. But it is admittedly hard on small businesses, on bars, restaurants, breweries, that sort of stuff. I don't know if it's coincidental or if it's just because this is a slow time of year, so they kind of plan out their brand calendars and things in this capacity. I think that's probably more the case. But you don't see a lot of beers released around this time. But one brewery that always did, I swear, like always, the post-holiday doldrums, January is the worst month, right? January sucks. February, slightly better. March still sucks, but slightly better. Then you start to get like, okay, now I might not jump off a bridge, right? But the brewery that is always like embraced the shittiest time of year to release beers, which I really appreciate, is our very own, craft beer pioneer here in Pittsburgh, East End Brewing Company.
Oh yeah.
Always been a fan of East End. Great people, great beers. And they always do releases, whether it be like Gratitude or in this instance, a little beer called Snowmelt. Which has been around for a long dang time. It's they call it their winter ale. I think it does come out before, you could find it before the holidays, but like, it's not one of these like Christmas / winter ales that release in like late August, what I mean? Or in October. They really released this like in December, I think. And it's a unique beer. And it's I've always struggled to describe the style or put a style around it, because they call it a winter warmer, which is like, a really generic old style, like not even a defined style, just like an old English specialty ale around the holidays. It's like calling something, a Grand Cru or I would say fest beer. Fest beer has now become like a more defined style. But Winter Warmer, it just suggests broadly some English heritage or English character, a stronger, perhaps hoppier English style ale, right? That's pretty much all Winter Warmer is. Theirs, and I don't know the exact hops they use in it, but like it feels like it's a mix of like American and perhaps British hops.
Okay.
But it's this kind of like deep, slightly roasty brown ale that's like pretty aggressively hopped and sits at like 7% ABV.
I have one.
So,
I mean, not that they don't have a brown ale, because they definitely do. Everybody knows, Fat Gary's brown. But I half wonder if maybe they just called that a Winter Warmer instead of calling it a brown ale, because they already had one, in the repertoire.
Yeah, and it is much hoppier, and like honestly, there's a good chance, if I kind of recall, it's maybe perhaps gotten a little hoppier over the years as well, because like it's pretty aggressively hopped now. Like if you poured this out on draft somebody and handed it to them, and they called it like a black IPA or something, I don't think anybody would argue with that. It's pretty aggressively hopped and it's pretty elevated in ABV. It's 7%. But it's just a nice beer you get, and like I said, you got a couple of them. A couple 16-ounce cans of it, you're getting a little tuned up.
Yeah.
7%. It's no joke, right? And just a nice beer. I always buy a 4-pack or 2 of it every year, and it goes pretty quick. Around my house. So.
Yeah. I got I got one little note to add. You're talking about how breweries don't necessarily embrace January. One definitely did in Cinderlands, because this week they released a quadruple IPA at 16%.
Oh yeah, like it's just a big middle finger. So, well, you know what? That's pretty smart if you think about it, because it's like, hey, the people were doing dry January, and hey, I'm not drinking, do that stuff. Hey, do what you got to do. But for people who are drinking in January, we're drinking.
Yeah.
Like we're drinking.
Yeah.
Like I saw somebody post about it, and like now it's such a hot button topic, especially in the industry. There's so many people saying like, fuck dry January, blah, blah, blah. And then other people saying like, don't tell me what to do and all, it's the internet. The internet happens.
Yeah.
But I do love the people who are like, why would we pick the worst month to not drink? Like, I get it. It's on the, like, if you're drinking so hard around the holidays that like you need a break, maybe you were going a little too hard around the holidays.
Right.
And maybe that's the correction next year. Not like, let me just take 1 month off, not learn my lesson, wait 10 to 11 months and start smashing it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Listen, far be it from me to tell somebody how to live their life. But I genuinely think dry January is like Valentine's Day. It was made by, instead of greeting card companies, it was made by, the fucking toxic diet industry and exercise culture, super like you got to have a 6-pack or you're a piece of shit, like that culture. And to that, I say, go fuck yourself, dry January. All right. Enough soapboxing, enough talking about beers. Let's get into that son of a bitchin' spinny ass wheel. It's that time of the month again, guys.
Yeah.
Where we are going to be spinning that son of a bitchin' wheel. And we're going to be talking about which of the 3 movies is going to be our February showdown. February, guys.
February.
Yeah. So here's you fucking mush mouth. So here's what we're gonna do. As Steve brings up that wheel, I'll explain to you how this works. Every damn month, we got this big old spinning ass wheel that we've been tabulating topics. We've been adding them on there. We've been removing them. We've been just tweaking this perfectly balanced spinny ass wheel for nigh on going on 3 years now. What we do every month is we spin it 3 times. We get 3 potential showdown topics. These can be subgenres. They can be performers. In January, it was a Giallo January, so we talked about 3 different Giallo flicks. But when you have those 3 topics, we then put them on the social medias. There's a reason why you should follow us on the social medias, so you can vote And sometimes it comes down to just a couple of votes. So you go on there, you vote on our Instagram story, and we put a poll out on Twitter as well. And you pick which of those 3 topics you want us to do for that month. Once we have a topic, then me, Steve, and whoever our guest is that month, we each pick a movie that's associated with that topic. So we're in January. This month, we all picked a Giallo movie. And then we had an episode where after all 3 of us watched all 3 movies, we talked about the movies, we argued about the movies, and ultimately we voted and somebody took home that son of a bitchin' championship strap for the fucking month. Me and Steve, we're starting out the year real weak. Don't love how it's going. We lost on our own show 2 months in a row now. And we got to get back on top. So what topics of the 3 are going to have the potential to get us back on top here?
All right, so the first one, you're going to enjoy this. I think it's come up on the poll before, but it didn't win, but you'll enjoy this, and It's a good front runner. Stephen King adaptations.
Ooh, I like that. Not only because I love me some Stephen King, but also I like a lot of Stephen King adaptation movies. There's a lot of there's a broad range. There's some great ones. There's some absolute shit ones. So I'd be excited to talk about that. I just got done reading. Why am I having deja vu? Like I already mentioned this on the show. I might have. I started. Oh, I did. Did I start telling you about? I was reading the Dark Tower series.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm balls deep in Stephen King right now because I'm reading Dark Towers. Now that's not horror. That's more like a weird, sci-fi shit, sci-fi adventure shit. But I'm balls deep in Stephen King land right now, so I like that. Okay, what's next?
Can we say though, just right off the bat, if that wins, Shining's off the table.
Shining, I think's off the table, and I said that I told myself that a second ago, and then I started thinking, what about it? What should we do? What should we do there? I think that one's probably okay.
I think that's fine.
But yeah, the Shining's the only big Stephen King adaptation wherever he's like, that's a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah, I'm okay with it being on the table because just like I feel like there's other ones I like more than that. So if there's other ones I like more than that, then yeah. This one's interesting just because I can't name too many films off the top of my head that fit this, but musical horror.
Oh, musical horror. Okay.
Yeah. There is parentheses that says films with musical themes or numbers. So
okay.
So maybe it doesn't have to be necessarily a full musical. It can just be centered around music, like I don't know, Revenge of the Phantom or something like that.
Yeah, or Anne and the Apocalypse or something like that. Like that's a full on musical, right? But then like maybe a Trick or Treat, a Trick or Treat. Although we've already done that, but, whatever the one with Sammy Kerr, Rock Chosen Warrior in it. That's about music.
Black Roses,
not a musical. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, that one. I think that one would probably count, maybe. But but we did that one as well. So
yeah, but musical horror. So we're talking about not necessarily musicals, although that might work as well. But we're talking about just that or music themed things. So that's quite interesting. All right, what's our number 3?
And number 3 is interesting because it's best novel adaptation. So it's anything that Stephen King didn't write, I guess.
Yeah, best novel adaptation is that can we get into Stephen King there, or do we just go to an agreement at the top of the show and say like, hey, let's not do Stephen King, so if the Stephen King thing comes back up around, we can do that. Right. Because then it's like, well, I mean, we could do a Lovecraft, actually we've done Lovecraftian horror, haven't we? Or at least it's come up on the wheel before. Do we do a Lovecraftian horror episode?
I don't think we did a full episode, but it definitely has come up on the wheel before.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the only. We don't have any like Clive Barker. I think it's just Lovecraft and King are the only. I think are the only ones.
Yeah, Lovecraft and King are the only ones as just like characters themselves. We don't have a best of Dean Koontz.
No, not yet. Not yet. We should put that on there. Okay. All right. So 2 literary ones, which is very pertinent because I actually have been watching a lot of movies recently. I was just reading a bunch of horror books, sci-fi books and shit. So Stephen King adaptations, musical horror, again, could have actual musical numbers in it, or it could just be about music. And then best novel adaptation. So a couple of similar ones in there. We'll see what people think. Keep an eye out on the social medias, on Instagram, on Twitter, in the coming week, and we'll have those on there, and you can vote. You can help us pick which one we want to do, and then we'll tell you what the movies are in the next episode. In the meantime, we got some fucking movies, a big old hunk of juicy movie to talk about tonight in the form of Helen Keller versus Nightwolves from 2015. So, like I said, this just went under the radar for me, and I'm interested to hear your story of your Ross Patterson obsession that I'm learning about here today.
Yeah. So I think it starts. I believe I got this film off, not this film, but the first film I saw from him. I got it off of old school Netflix, I think.
Okay.
I'm on
like in the mail.
Yeah,
Netflix.
I'm honestly having trouble remembering when I first saw this film because it's from 2012. But the first film I saw from him is called FDR American Badass.
So I feel like I've heard of that.
Yeah,
one.
That one is probably his best film. It's hilarious. It has Barry Bostwick in it again.
Yeah.
Barry Bostwick as FDR. Lynn Shay's in it as well. So a lot of the people that were in Nightwolves were in this film. And then he also has a film from 2011 called Pool Boy Drowning Out the Fury. And that it's hilarious. And it's probably one of the last things that Kevin Sorbo did before he went right-wing Christian, like insufferable right-wing Christian.
Right.
So he made these 2 films, but he didn't direct either of those. It seemed like he had a working partner for those 2 films, and the working partner worked as the director, and Ross Patterson was the writer. But that film, FDR, and this film all fall into this kind of like shared cinematic universe of the St. James Street James catalog of films.
Yeah. And it looks like St. James, but it's St. ST as the abbreviation for Saint. Yeah. But then the second ST is abbreviation for Street, right. which really encapsulates the humor of this movie, which is just like, I was actually struggling to describe it because it's very jokey, but it's also wildly stupid, but in like a marginally clever stupidity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there are gags that remind me almost of like a more crude version of like Airplane, where it's just like dumb plays on word, like St. James Street James, you know what I mean? But then there's also just like pure dumb, just absolute pure dumb. That's like, Blood Fart Lake or freaking Thanksgiving level of stupidity too.
Yeah. And like, that's kind of the way it is in his other 2 films. But after this film, he goes on to make a film that I actually had on a punishment list. And I don't know that when it'll come up, because we're doing this film now. But the film he went on to make is called Range 15. And I saw that was like seemed to be his most notable film. It's his most notable, but it's also like his worst. The reason why it's so notable is because and it happens on this film, I think, but he falls into like the gang with the Black Rifle Coffee Club guys. Okay. And I don't know who that is either. They're like a bunch of right-wing veterans who started a coffee company. Like you can see all that coffee in Walmart. But they're just like army shitheads. They're insufferable. Yeah. And so this movie is notably insufferable because they got a bunch of people to show up for a film that they're saying, oh, it's a film by veterans for veterans. But then the film it's a zombie film that is just the most homophobic, unfunny thing that I've ever seen. Like,
yeah,
it's truly like just a giant piece of shit. And then all the positive reviews are just like, well, if you didn't serve, you don't get it. And I was like, nah, I get it. You're just a bunch of homophobes.
Yeah. Wow. What a weird turn. I was not expecting that at all. And this movie is really, it's strange, right? You'll see, like, so it's silly, and the reason it kind of works is because it definitely touches on that, like, this movie actually didn't really strike me as homophobic.
No, not this one.
No, but like, it's interesting that you said that, because in 2015 is right on the, like, bleeding edge of where you were probably not even gonna do gay jokes because you didn't want to be viewed as homophobic, even if it came from a place of, like, like, earnestly trying to be funny and not from any manner of, like, hateful way. Even if it was, like, I don't want to say tastefully done, because this is, like, that sounds a little bit dramatic, but, like, there are differences, and it seems like the difference between this movie and the movie that you're talking about, where if you do something about, like, sexuality or race, let's say, or misogyny, or, like, sensitive social topics, and you can do a joke in that vein, and it can be like, we're all in on the joke, and it's funny because it's true, or it's funny because it's something we all deal with, or you can do a joke about it, and it's like, oh no, you just don't like or are scared of that group of people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, so this movie, although it was, when they started getting into, like, the like, gay jokes and all this stuff, I was like, well, which direction is this going? Because 2015, like I said, we've watched some movies from, like, 2012 that were, like, wildly homophobic and very uncomfortable in that area. And then, like, we've seen other ones that were not. And, like, I didn't get that vibe from this one. There were a couple moments where I was like, okay. Like, I don't know if this would fly necessarily today. Maybe it would. But it all felt very good humored, and it felt like everybody was kind of having fun, and it wasn't necessarily at anybody's expense. You know what I mean? So anyway, but it's interesting to hear they go in another movie later, go in another movie in a different direction. That's just like, just unabashed homophobia.
Yeah. But like I said, it's just interesting to watch this guy's career, because, like, the other movies I mentioned, like, they have a lot of crass humor and like, it's all crass, stupid humor. Is all of them, right?
It's like almost edgelordy, right? Like, it's
but like, the thing is, like, you can just watch his career going, like, oh, he never progresses or gets better at doing this. He gets worse, and then after he makes Range 15 in 2016, he literally just stops making movies and just goes to right-wing podcast grifting. Like, he just he hasn't done anything but podcasting since. So it's just like, it's just a curious career to look at.
Well, and you look at his picture on IMDb, and listen, I won't say for a second, I won't stand here on my high horse and pretend that I won't judge a book by its cover, because I am doing that right now. If you look at the picture of him on IMDb, you're like, oh yeah, that like, if you were like, quick, have you seen these clips on, like, Instagram, like on social media, of people playing Guess Who, the board game Guess Who, and, like, saying hyper specific things about the characters? Like, does it look like your person has ever worked at a coffee shop? And they'll be like, oh, hell yeah, definitely. Or, like, does this person's parents pay for their college education? They're like, maybe not. You know what I mean? Like, because you're just judging a book by its cover. Kind of. I look at a picture of Ross Patterson and go, right-wing social media. Like, that's what he looks like.
He looks like a cheaper version of Steven Crowder. Like, That's what he looks like, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I don't know if he was always that way or if he just kind of fell into that hanging out with Kevin Sorbo, but
Well, and this is why, I mean, this maybe this makes sense, but this movie, you can't find it anywhere except for free on YouTube. It's not on Tubi, which is like, hey, maybe Tubi would eat that up. I mean, there's, you know what I mean? But you get my point. Like, it's not streaming anywhere. But you can watch it for free on YouTube. So, that was my question, is like, this movie's like mild, like moderately entertaining at points, funny.
You're right.
But you can't find it anywhere except for on YouTube.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's part of like, I don't know if there was like a full falling out or anything with the director he previously worked with. But again, you can find Pool Boy and FDR on Tubi. So like you can find those movies on Tubi. This movie feels like he took all the goodwill he had built up from the past two movies and rang up the gang and said, hey gang, we're getting back together, making another movie. And then like slap this one together. And this one, like, I know it's hard to imagine you've only seen this film, but if you've seen the previous two films, they're far more competent and they're far more restrained and even funnier than this one.
Yeah.
Like what? So one of the things I was
there, restraint is not in the vocabulary of this movie.
Not at all.
Like this, there are parts of this movie that just seems like an improv troupe with a set and costumes and stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, jokes are just completely dragged out, and like at times that they should have ended, they didn't end, whether because they didn't know it stopped being funny or that it like they just needed to pad the time out, because this movie's only an hour 15.
Yeah, it's short.
Yeah, but just a point about like how he doesn't really progress as a filmmaker. There's a joke in Pool Boy that's really funny. It's a scene with a black actor, and the black actor, it's obvious that they lost his audio for that scene, and so he just has him scream out his audio, like he does the fake black voice to scream out his audio. But then you watch this film, and he does it like 3 or 4 times, and there's not even black characters in this film.
No, so that, I mean, that makes more sense, and it apparently it must have been a callback to that.
Right. But it doesn't make sense, and it's not funny in this film.
No, it's really not, and it just, I was just like, when they did it, I was just like, recognize the joke. It wasn't necessarily funny, and it's not like it was like not funny because it was like offensive or something. It was just like, it wasn't really funny. But now it actually makes a little bit more sense, knowing that at least it's a callback to something else that like a fan of his other movies would have been like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember. Right.
But it's like, yeah, it's still, even for somebody who's seen the movies, it's like, whatever.
Yeah, we get it. It's the same joke. So here's there's not a lot of story in this movie. Like, I do want to talk about a handful of like funny scenes, and could like broadly talk about the plot here, but the story, like there's just not a lot here. It's just a series of jokes, right? It's just like a series of, like I said, like the scenes act as just like setups for like I said, what feels like at times like improvised comedy. And I have no doubt in my mind, quite a few of the bits are improvised. But let's go through the cast, because it actually is really impressive, the number of people who are in this movie that are recognizable. Like you said, you get Ross Patterson at the beginning with what is a relatively funny character. Like I said, it's St. James Street James, which is I thought that was a funny bit. He's kind of like a cross between, like, the only thing that kind of started rubbing me the wrong way, if he would have been on screen for half the time, I probably would have liked it more. But after a while, it started to get real Ron Burgundy to me. And I was just like, all right, bud, we get it. You didn't make this character up. Like, it was like a cross between, like, he almost was Space Ghost, like from Space Ghost Coast to Coast, meets Ron Burgundy, meets like what's the freaking captain guy's name from C-Lab 2021?
Oh, Murphy, Captain Murphy.
Murphy. Yeah, he's like Captain Murphy meets Space Ghost meets Ron Burgundy. And it's just, it gets a little bit old. He's got like an eye patch on and, you know. So anyway, he plays him. But a lot of recognizable people. The frankly, one of the only people that were just completely unrecognizable to me that I never saw before. And at first I thought I did, but then I think I was confusing her with somebody else, is Jesse Wiseman, who she plays Helen Keller in the movie.
That's just his wife.
She's okay. I was going to say, what's the relation there, right? Because she's not in anything else but his movies. Right. As like old Helen Keller, who's the wraparound kind of, if you will, that's like telling the story to her grandchildren, I guess. Yeah. You have very recognizable. You have Lynn Shay. Like horror fans will definitely know her from Insidious and I think all the damn Insidious movies. She's in There's Something About Mary, Dead End. Like she's in a ton of stuff. She immediately recognizable, right? You have, as you mentioned, Barry Bostwick, which you said he's in some of his other movies too, right?
Yeah, he's FDR and FDR American Badass.
I mean, I would watch that, right? He's so I mean, for me, he's Brad Majors from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Sure,
like that's one of my all time favorite movies, and he's just in. I mean, he has 188 acting credits. Guy has been in just fucking everything. I would say for the vast majority of his career, he would kind of fall in that category of like a B movie actor. But he has some like relatively high profile comedy performances or supporting comedy performances in there as well. But he's still out there, right? He's still acting. He's in a movie. He was in 2 movies last year. One is called Outlaw Johnny Black, which looks pretty bonkers.
That is, I haven't watched it all the way through, but so I haven't gotten to his part in it. That's kind of the sequel to Black Dynamite.
Okay, I mean that's what the poster looks like. I'm looking at it now. That like stylized, 70s exploitation type of feel to it. Someone who I really like. And I didn't actually, I'll be honest with you, did not know her name before I looked on here. And she is one of those people that you see in things. You're like, she's really, really funny. And, and you don't see her in stuff that much, which is Alana. Is it Ubach?
I would say Ubach. Yeah. But she's in a lot of stuff, but you don't always clock her when she's in it.
Right. And the thing that I remember from is she absolutely stole the show in the movie Waiting. So if you remember the movie, the movie Waiting with Ryan Reynolds, and they work at like a Fuddruckers type of restaurant. And she is like the super angry, like chain smoking waitress. She is a fantastically funny comedic performer and really super physical, which I love. And her like physicality in Waiting too is fucking fantastic. She's just unhinged. Yeah. She just plays angry, unhinged, so funny.
She has probably some of the best parts in this film as well.
She has a lot of the same best lines.
Yeah. One of my favorite roles of hers, though, is she's in an episode of Always Sunny, and in that episode she plays.
I know what you're talking about.
In that episode she plays Frank's hooker that winds up. Yeah. She dies at the end of the episode, but in the episode she has one of the funniest lines of like, I think it's either Dennis or Mac is talking to her, and she just goes, "Shut up, baby dick."
I think she talks to Dennis. I think she says it to Dennis. But yeah, it's she could do this like really. She could do. I mean, and she does a lot of voice work too. She's been in like done some really high profile like Disney. She's in like Coco. Like she's done some really high profile voice work too. Yeah.
So do you want?
And she's in FDR American Badass too.
Right. Yeah. So, but do you want to know like her like deep, dark, secret kind of starting role, one of her very earliest roles.
Yes, I would, please.
And this blew my mind because I looked her up after the Always Sunny episode. I was like, where is this woman from? Because I don't remember her much. She was the assistant on Beekman's World.
Oh my God. No shit.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are not, boy, you could have given me a week to guess. I wouldn't have came up with that.
Oh yeah, no, it's such a deep dig.
So I love Beekman's World. Beekman's World was the more fun, wacky, fucking zany, even jokier version of Bill Nye the Science Guy. Mm-hmm. So Bill Nye's cool. I liked Bill Nye's show growing up. It was a little conventional for a 90s kid who just like wanted everything to be covered in slime and be fucking monsters. Here's what it is. It's you take Bill Nye the Science Guy, you combine it with Big Bad Beetleborgs, you get fucking you get Beekman's World. Beekman's World's a lot of fun. Holy shit, I still can't even picture the assistant. And now I desperately want to go back, and I feel like I'm going to be that meme of Leonardo DiCaprio, pointing at the screen. Yeah, that's wild. I'm so curious to look at that now.
Yeah,
she's fantastic.
Yeah, she plays Josie in like the first 26 episodes of the series. So
wow,
you have to look. You have to look for the earlier. That. Yeah, you have to go back for the earlier episodes. But yeah, Beekman's World was great because it was like a response to Mr. Wizard, because Mr. Wizard was a fucking dickhead. And they're like, what if we tried it fun now?
Mr. Wizard was like so condescending, such a prick. Yeah. Beekman's World. Did Beekman's World come out? Like, I imagine Beekman's World coming out after Bill Nye the Science Guy, but that might not be right.
I'm not sure if it came out after or not, because it came out in like 92. So it feels like they're maybe parallel.
That's really close. If you were like, quick, when did Bill Nye come out? I would have said like 92, 93.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, Beekman's World, guys, check it out. Actually, I'm almost half scared to go check it out because it's kind of like sometimes you have these shows in your head that were like, oh my God, that was so great. And then you go back and watch them and you're like, no, this is hot garbage. Like, I loved Big Bad Beetleborgs back in the day. And then I went and like watched a couple episodes of it. I was like, this shit's like almost unwatchable, but I still have a lot of nostalgia for it. But that doesn't always happen like that. Like I've since went back and watched, Max Headroom, and I think is getting better. Like somehow, like Max Headroom is like aging like a fine wine. Anyway, a couple other people. I didn't recognize Jesse Merlin, who plays another big character there. William Keller, which is Helen Keller's brother. He's like that's his whole thing is like, if you could just refer to the character as gay brother, like, and he's constantly talking about how gay he is and doing gay jokes, stuff like that. He has some really, really funny jokes, and like they do the, oh, hey, I'm gay and it's funny to be gay in like the early 20s, like to be a flamboyantly out gay man in the early 20th century. And that's what he is. Like, he's like kind of a modern, kind of like, snappy queen, but in the early 20th century.
Right. In log cabin times.
That's not. Yeah. But that's not even the funniest thing about him. The funniest thing about him is how much of an asshole he is. Yeah. How much of just like a lazy asshole he is. He like makes his blind. He's like, I'm so hungover. Go get me another. She's like literally deaf, dumb, and blind. Anyway, he funny character too. Got a lot of good lines. Anyway, I'll go through this a little quicker, but there's just so many people. Jim O'Hare, like my Kate, my wife, she is obsessed with Parks and Rec. Like, she's watched the whole series 100 times. You will immediately know him as Jerry / Gary Gergich from Parks and Rec. But he's been in a bunch of stuff like Bad Times at El Royale. Like he's a real super well-known actor, and would have been in 2015 too, he would have been immediately recognizable in 2015 too. Richard, I think it's real, probably. Yeah. He's immediately recognizable for most people from Office Space, and he's in a lot of iconic scenes. Really, you think about it. So he's most remembered from Office Space as the guy that invented the jump to conclusions mat, right? The guy who he was in he's a really sad character because he's like, he tries to kill himself, but his wife catches him because he hates his office job so much. He tries to like, breathe exhaust in the garage type situation. His wife catches him. He becomes startled and then like in that moment gets a new lease on life, decides not to kill himself, backs out of the driveway and gets T-boned by like a drunk driver or something, and then wins this enormous settlement. And he's so happy, but he's like horribly injured, but he's just like, my dreams came true, because he doesn't have to work anymore. So it's like this weird, tragic character, but then he invents the jump to conclusions, Matt. Yeah. Anyway, also really famous scene getting threatened by oh my God, Joe Pesci in Casino as well. So, and he has 430 acting credits.
Yeah.
One movie I'll throw out of his that I like is a movie that's actually not terribly dissimilar from this and actually has a lot of big name, like not big name, but quite recognizable people in it, called Chiller Theater. I think it's called Chiller Cinema. Actually, Chillerama. I knew I get to it eventually. Chillerama, which is it's
an anthology,
silly horror comedy anthology. Right. But it gets pretty wacky, and they're very, very committed to it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's a good film because it also has Joe Lynch is one of the directors on that film. He directs a segment in that. Doesn't Richard Reel play kind of the projectionist?
He's like the theater operator.
Yeah, the projectionist.
Yeah, projectionist.
Yeah, I like that one. The one I wanted to point out was Edie Patterson, because she plays Peters in all of these St. James Street James films. And
yeah. She looked pretty familiar, but I couldn't place her.
So she was in Vice Principals, and she's currently in The Righteous Gemstones.
Okay.
She's the sister.
She's like the sister in Righteous.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's just so funny that like this is where she kind of got her start, is like playing like this weird subservient maid to the St. James Street James character, and she's just like this weird ditz. It's a funny character,
and she pops off the screen honestly. Like, and she, for as little as you actually see her when she's on screen, she kind of steals, like she's whatever that quality you have where like your eyes are just drawn to her.
Yeah.
She's definitely has that. She's very funny. And she's fucking, I haven't even watched The Righteous Gemstones, and I feel like I could quote like 4 lines from her at least of like really funny lines that she delivers about some scene. I watched a clip that just came up on social media of her talking about how she like jerked this guy off against his will in her office and stuff.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh my God, this show's fucking wild. It is really funny.
Yeah, she is a nutcase on that show. She's also great on Vice Principals. So, I mean, it makes sense.
Is Vice Principals... Who's in Vice? Is Vice Principals the one with Patton Oswalt?
No, that's the one.
No.
The Vice Principals was the show that was also by like Danny McBride and Walton Goggins.
Yeah, I'm getting that mixed up with like AP Chem or whatever it is. Anyway, anybody else that we want to call out here? Like I said, a heck of a cast. And the whole time I was like, I started watching this, knew nothing about it, didn't know anything about the director, just jumped into it. And I'm seeing all these people. I'm like, whose kid just graduated from USC? Like, whose kid is this? You know what I mean? Like, whose dad made a bunch of phone calls for him? Because it's kind of wild how many people are in this. But I don't know. I mean, do you have any insight into like how he got so many recognizable people? I mean, I'm not saying it's like, Denzel Washington in here, but there's tons of recognizable people and really talented people.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's pretty much all just the built goodwill from the previous 2 films, because I think almost everybody who appears in this film appeared in one or the other of the 2 previous films, like Alana Ubach, Barry Bostwick, and Lin Shaye were all in FDR. I'm trying to think if there's anybody specifically from Pole Boy other than Edie Patterson. Maybe Jim O'Hare was in that as well. So like it's just built goodwill of doing those 2 films, and then he called in favors to do this one. One more person I wanted to point out and maybe we'll move on. But is
well, like I said, there's jokes to talk about, but there's not much of a story.
Yeah, there's not much. There's no real meat on the bone of this film. It's just like doing the same joke for 5 minutes and then moving on. But Christine Lakin, she's one of the granddaughters on the couch with Lin Shaye, and
okay, yeah.
You might not recognize her right away, but she was Al on Step by Step, which was an early crush.
Oh, no shit. My God, everyone's early crush, right? Yeah. It was her and Alex Mack from The Secret World of Alex Mack. Like, I'm just over the moon. Yeah, would never have made that connection, but now I see it. Step by Step was like my favorite TGIF show, maybe aside from Home Improvement. And it was 100% because of her.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, every 12-year-old, 11-year-old, 10-year, whatever, boy just wants a cute girl. He doesn't know why, but he also wants to play baseball. So he wants a little cute tomboy girlfriend. Like that's secretly what every 10, 11-year-old boy wants. Anyway,
the older sisters were too much. They were too advanced for us at that age.
Oh yes, terrifying. But if it's like, oh, that's kind of like a friend I can shoot hoops with, but also she's pretty and I kind of want to kiss her.
Right.
Like that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. The TGIF people knew that. They got it all figured out. Anyway, so let's get into this movie a little bit. Like I said, we're mostly talking about like the jokes and gags and stuff like that. I did get a kick out of the little intro at the beginning where it's like, they try to set it up like it's the 70s exploitation promo, and it's like love, adventure, fucking, like it's just going, it's like coming at the screen. So he did get me giggling right off the bat with all that. And the whole bit about having written a romance novel for dudes, where it's just like, an action movie, but has romance in it. And it's just like, he's such a, like, one singular brained guy that he's just like, no, that this is like, he doesn't see it for what it is.
Yeah. Although that's
kind of a funny gag.
It is a real book though. So like,
oh, is it really a real book?
Yeah, it is a real book. And then he also wrote another one, and it's like, well, I mean, I haven't read either of them, but it's like you're just saying, like, it's a singular brain type thing. It's like, how much of this is him actually not knowing, like he doesn't, he's just kind of a
that all the movies that he's referencing were already this.
Yeah.
This is just a more heavy-handed version of that, I guess. Having not having read the books, I'm making some huge speculations here, but the intro song, like over the intro credits that are happening here, it's this like hair metal ballad type of thing. And I just wrote down the line. It was talking about something that'll happen to you until you shit your own dick out. And it's like, you got like that is really a summation of almost every joke in the movie.
Right.
It's just like over the top, crass humor. I mean, like I said, there's some more clever stuff than that, but I just wrote that down. I was like, yeah, like looking back, that's pretty close to what we're getting here. So yeah, this is we should say very comedy first, and I would put this, if you haven't picked up on it already, very much so in the same area of the cosmos as like Velocipaster or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. This is not a so bad it's good horror movie, right? This is not a wow, this is wild, I can't believe this is happening on screen. Like, this isn't Spookies.
No,
this is Velocipaster. This is or Thanksgiving, right? This is 100% self-aware and really just using anything that resembles horror is just used for comic effect. Like this is not a horror movie, right? This is 100% a comedy movie with some fake blood and guts on screen, used as like Carrot Top style props, right?
Yeah. The one time you get intestines on screen is like, it's for a joke, because it's Helen Keller filling around on the ground, feeling her father's intestines, going, what is this, sausage? Sausages? Sausage?
Yeah. So so there are these red-eyed wolves that they call Nightwolves that there are roving packs of that kill people, and they are entirely stock photos, stock images, even like static images spliced onto the screen and animated over top of the scenes, and or just stuffed like taxidermied wolves just placed in positions. Like those are the three things that I would say constitute all of the wolves.
Well, also there's a couple just stuffed dog toys. Like they're not even wolves, they're just dogs.
Yeah, they're just dogs. Yeah. All of these like things coming apart at the seams that you would expect from like in 2015 even, I would have thought like this was in 2015, I guess I would have liked this movie more because this was a bit more of a novelty, but there's so many of these now of these like self-aware comedies disguised as horror movies, disguised as schlocky horror movies. It's kind of, I don't know. They don't really interest me that much anymore, to be honest with you.
Right.
Like there's too much funny that is not intentionally funny and is like, so there's too much so bad it's good out there to really get a lot out of this in my mind. But there are some funny jokes, I'll say.
So like
as a horror fan, I'll say.
Yeah. So like Pool Boy is very much because that movie's from 2011. So this movie is kind of recycling a lot of that self-awareness. We're purposely making bad filmmaking type of stuff. Is in Pool Boy, and it makes more sense. But then this movie is a repeated joke of that, so it feels diluted. And then that's also why I didn't really like Velocipaster, because it felt like retread ground that I've seen so many times before. I was like, ugh, there's one or two jokes in Velocipaster I really laugh at, and one of them is the missing media. Like there's a scene where a car blows up and it's just a blank Adobe Premiere screen that says missing media, and then the missing media flies away. And I was like, that's funny. I haven't seen that specific joke, but then the rest of it is just like, I've seen so much of this already. Like, stop being self-aware. Just admit that you don't have the budget and just do your best with the budget you have.
It feels like, hey, we want to make a schlocky horror movie, but like, it feels like that kid who's like, I really like I like something, but I'm too self-conscious to admit that I like it. So I'll pretend that I only like it for a joke. Like, and it's just like, all right. It's just kind of eye rolly a little bit. So like, again, I'm not trying to judge it by, this was 2015. There wasn't as many of those out now, but I swear like now it's like, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a movie that feels exactly like this. Long story short, Keller's whole family get slaughtered by Nightwolves, and then she's attacked and left deaf, dumb, and blind. And that's how Helen Keller, the historical character, assumedly became deaf, dumb, and blind. Helen Keller, the funniest part of this bit, or the funniest bit in this scene rather, is her mom dropping the logs. She's collecting logs for the fire to make dinner, and the Nightwolves are about, and everyone's like, hey, come inside, there's Nightwolves. And she's just comically dropping logs over and over, and she'll pick up like one and drop it again. And at first it was like, oh, okay, it's kind of slapsticky, and then she just kept doing it, which they do a lot of that in this movie. And this is one of the times it worked. Perhaps because it was
the first one
early, and you hadn't gotten it 20 times by now. Yeah, it feels like this Ron, whatever his fucking name is, the director, writer, he saw that episode of Family Guy where Peter falls and scrapes his knee, and just goes, like he saw that episode and was like, I'm gonna make a whole movie, and that's the joke.
That's the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. But kills his whole family besides her, who she's rendered deaf, dumb, and blind. And I'll say her and also Annie Sullivan, who's played by Elena Ubach. She gets attacked too, and she's blind, but she's not deaf. So she can speak and hear, but she's rendered blind as well, and she plays the equivalent of the real life character Anne Sullivan. The other one who survives is the gay brother, who's like just like an alcoholic, like degenerate as well, which is the funniest part about him. He's always drinking what they very deliberately refer to as alcoholic root beer.
Yeah.
And it's literally not your father's root beer. Like, if anybody remembers, like if you've been of drinking age for a significant amount of time, there was this enormous phenomena in the beverage industry of alcoholic, specifically root beer, in the form of not your father's root beer. It was like incredibly popular for 2 seconds. Stores couldn't keep it on the shelves. Every big, beverage producer then decided to do their own version of an alcoholic soda. But then quickly everybody realized that, like, oh my God, these are each like 350 calories and they have like so much sugar and it's unbelievable. And like, if I'm going to drink 12 of these and get hammered, I should probably drink something else. So like, they were very short lived, but for a second they were the hot shit on the streets. And in this movie, they're literally drinking the brand, not your father's root beer, like labels out. Like yeah. So I wonder if it was like they obviously got the okay, but I wonder if they literally got some sort of deal cut with not your father's root beer. Like, yeah, because it's kind of wild how prominently it's featured.
Yeah, I have no idea. And I'm half curious because, like I said, so he fell into the crowd with this Black Rifle Coffee Company, and they appear in this film. At one point, they're the Scagnetti brothers.
Which ones are in the diner?
Yeah, in the diner. They're just like the shitheads making jokes at the diner.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if if that's what those guys did before Black Rifle Coffee. Like, were they also invested in like this not your father's root beer shit before that?
Could have been.
I don't know.
Could have been, because it seems so deliberate, but they do so many other things very deliberately for seemingly no reason in here as well. So after the attack leaves her deaf, dumb, and blind, she stumbles. She's not dumb. I keep saying dumb. She can speak. She's deaf and blind,
right? Which
Helen Keller could not speak in real life. So that's a difference here. She can speak. She just can't hear or see. And Anne Sullivan can only not see. But this is not really that pertinent to it's pertinent to jokes, but it comes and goes because there's times where she can very clearly hear.
Yeah.
Which is like, again, played for a gag. But she stumbles back in the house. And this was a fairly funny bit for me, at least. She stumbles in and she's feeling around. And like, this is, we should also say, like, this, aside from just, being this like schlocky, based on these kind of exploitation schlocky horror movies, she also, like, this is heavily based on what's the freaking book and then the movie? I forgot to write it down. The Miracle Worker.
Yeah.
Right. So the book, and then the people know the film, The Miracle Worker, which is about the life of Helen Keller and her teacher Anne Sullivan, and just the incredible perseverance and incredible act of will to kind of learn how to communicate on Helen Keller and Anne Sullivan's behalf. So the idea is this is a little bit based on that movie, which I'm actually surprised they didn't do the water. They didn't do any bit with water.
Yeah.
Do you remember in the movie? I remember having to watch it in school, and she has where she has the breakthrough with Helen. And she gets her to sign the word water.
Right. And that's the first
they didn't
word.
Didn't make that joke. No. I was like, have you guys literally never seen the movie or read the book or done any type of like research on the topic that you're doing? Because she kind of does, in the sense that she goes into the cabin and she's feeling around and all this stuff. And the joke is she's knocking everything over. everything, like just like kicking it over, ripping every single little pot and pan off the wall. But then she walks past and a fully stacked up Jenga game, like that's like stacked almost to the roof. And then she goes and knocks everything else over and she's feeling around. Then she slowly walks up and very deliberately pulls one like incredibly precise Jenga tile out, which I thought was kind of a fun gag. Well, the thing that they do, like when it is funny in this movie that they do well, is they don't necessarily they don't go to the most obvious thing. Like what's the gag? Oh, obviously here's the setup. Here's what the gag's going to be. They will take it instead of going from A to B. They will oftentimes go A to C, which is like fine. That's like I do give them credit for doing that a little bit, because a lot of these movies, especially with this type of sensibility, like thinking of your scary movies, if you will, your kind of other like horror type of things like that. Most of those ones are straight up A to B. You know what I mean? And the only thing that really makes it funny is just like really talented people on screen. At least in this, they do sometimes do the A to C. Or just completely irreverent non sequiturs. That's a big thing they do in this movie as well. So like they come in the house, they're obviously all injured, all bloody, all this stuff. And then they're like, where were you to the brother? And he's just like, I was drinking alcoholic root beer in the outhouse, and he's all tanked. And then Helen is like, there's a full turkey on the table, like a full cooked turkey. And Helen starts eating it before he comes in. And his like, they're all scratched up and bloody and can't see and panicking and all this stuff. And he's just like, did you eat one of my turkey legs? Like he's outraged that they ate one of the turkey legs, which is a pretty funny bit.
Yeah. I also like later when they're all seated around the table eating dinner and like she's asking for food and he's like, I'm still eating. Just the way.
Yes. And it's like, it's a moderately funny setup, but it's his line delivery that makes it funny. Yeah. And he's just like, he's always talking about like, literally they were just rendered, deaf and blind and all these horrible things happened to him. The family was just murdered, parents were just murdered, all this stuff. And he's just like, I'm so hungover. He's just being like a whiny bitch about everything. It's pretty funny. Also, like when they're going into town, he thinks everyone is looking at him because he's gay, not because his sisters have their eyes scratched out.
Right.
Which is kind of a funny bit. Like he's so self-absorbed that he's just like, what are you looking at me because I'm gay? And then meanwhile, his like sisters are like covered in blood. The town is just in modern day,
right?
Which is weird. Like they live out in a cabin in the, early 20th century in like, 1918 or something. And then they go into town and it's just the modern day. Like people might be wearing flannels and jeans, but then there's like Gatorade on the shelf behind.
Yeah.
Them. Like it's pretty thrown together.
It's just that weird anachronistic, like thrown together. We didn't have a proper costuming department. Because they have most of the women in the diner scene are in petticoats and shit like that. Then there's just like one dude who's in shorts and flip flops. Then all the other guys are wearing flannel. It's just yeah. I mean, it's still supposed to be, the early 1900s or late 1800s, and then the stock footage that they use as an establishing shot is like from a burger joint from the 1950s. Like it's a 1950s diner.
Oh yeah. It's like a car hop type of place. Yeah. It doesn't make any fucking sense at all. I mean, the joke is that the filmmakers are so just incoherently stupid that they just threw this together.
Lazy, poor,
or didn't care or lazy. Yeah. Or just like so overly confident that they don't realize how stupid all their decisions are. Anyway, we meet, we then meet Jonathan. So they go into town. There's this whole thing where like everyone at the diner's making fun of them, like relentlessly making fun of them, saying Helen Keller jokes, so it's this big juxtaposition. The funny part is when Helen is walking around and she's like, she's injured, but she's so hungry. So everywhere she goes, she's like looking for food. And she's like, do I smell pie? And he's like, is that pie? And she's just walking around knocking over everything, assaulting everyone, injuring people, just searching for pie. And it goes on for so long that it becomes not funny. But for the first like minute it's happening, when she's going around going pie, not pie, not pie, pie, not pie, like as she touches things, it's like I said, it's funny for a second. They just kind of go too long with it. Like that's the joke, is stretching everything out. They do a scene right before this where you meet Barry Bostwick's character, whose name's Jonathan, and he's just this like kind of drifter guy whose family was murdered by Nightwolves, so he knows all the lore of Nightwolves and he knows how to beat the Nightwolves, but he's like a broken man because his, you know, it's this like, you know, interloper type of you know, character.
There's a little
that shows up in town.
Yeah, there's a little bit of Quint in this character, especially in his
a little bit,
especially in his introduction, because his introduction is like you don't see him in the scene, but then out of nowhere you just hear and everybody turns to look, you know, just like Quint scratching the chalkboard. Everybody turns to look, and Barry Bostwick has a mouthful of apple, and he's just like.
I'll tell you this is the thing I really do appreciate about this movie, is everyone, really, with very few exceptions, and especially Barry Bostwick, they are bought in 1,000%.
Right.
And they're really leaning in to the physical comedy and the silliness, and like nothing's tongue in cheek. It's all just very earnest silliness, which I appreciate. There's like a line when he's talking about I forget even who he's talking to, but he's like, it's Jonathan, it's Barry Bostwick's character. He's like, you're gonna have to tell your wife there's a new dish on the, or because he's like, oh, he's talking about the maybe it's the sheriff, but he's talking about going to the diner before they go to the diner. He's like, you're gonna have to tell him that there's a new dish on the menu and it smells like shit.
Yeah.
And he just like holds it for a super long time. I mean, that's what you're getting here. Like, it's funny, but it's just that gag a lot of times. But
I feel like you said how, like, you know, he's obviously watched Family Guy. That's also Ross picked up The Wire and just like he saw the character Clay on The Wire, who's always just like, shit. He's like, that's hilarious too.
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot that you haven't seen before in this movie, but just seeing it in this context makes it funny. There's a lot of non sequitur stuff. Like there's a weird, like what is supposed to be set up as like, I think like a couple frames of like a geisha girl is like randomly spliced into the movie in at a moment. There's just these little weird non sequitur things. I will tell you a joke that I did just kind of laugh out loud at that just caught me off guard. And it's so stupid. And I'm almost embarrassed how hard it made me laugh, but it's Barry Bostwick, which he cracks me up. Right, it's funny. Right. And they were like, when he comes up and he's introducing himself and he's talking about his wife and his kids were murdered by Nightwolves, and he's like, you know, he's this grizzled old, you know, guy, and they're like, and the gay brother who later on is constantly hitting on him is like, all right, well, thanks for this, you know, pep talk, you old fuck. We got to get to town, so if you'll get out of here, you hobo. And he's got like literally has a stick and bindle, and he's like, get out of here, you know, you blah blah blah, you old hobo or whatever. And Jonathan Barry Bostwick goes, no hobo. That's really quick.
It's so quick and stupid. Yeah.
It's so dumb. And I was just like, I don't know why. I just kind of laughed. I laughed against my will. Right. But it did crack me up. And then there's another one where they're trying to get rid of him. This whole scene's pretty funny when they introduce Barry Bostwick because he just comes out of the fucking woods or whatever. But they're trying to get rid of him. And Helen goes, this gives this whole tirade about, you know, leave us alone, whatever. And it just goes, hit the bricks, fuck stick. Just a great insult. Just such a great dismissive. No. It's not her. It's the brother. It's the brother that goes, hit the bricks, fuckstick. Just a great line delivery. So yeah, he knows about the Nightwolves and all that stuff. He sits down and smokes weed out of an apple with the brother as well. And this is one of the parts that's just like, it's just filler. Literally, they sat down, like probably, two of the funnier people in the movie, which is the brother and Barry Bostwick. And they just kind of did bits back and forth at each other for about 5 minutes. That's the whole scene.
Yeah.
One of them that I wrote down, which I, again, laughed involuntarily at because it's not clever. It's just, it just is silly and made me laugh. He's like, that sucks, man. Like, your family's been killed. What have you been up to? He's like, I'm just making furniture. It's pretty much all I do. I make furniture. And he's like, yeah, if you could do anything in the world, I forget. I'm paraphrasing. If you could do anything in the world, what would you do? And he's like, I'd like to open my own furniture store someday. And they're like, oh yeah, what would you name it? And he's like, it would be my full name, Jonathan IKEA Furniture. It's like, so, I mean, the gag is obviously, the joke would have been his last name's IKEA. But in this instance, he delivers, I don't even know if this is in the script, but he delivers the line as if his full name is Jonathan IKEA Furniture, which is just dumb. Again, that's I might be giving them too much credit, but that was like one of those kind of A to C moments where I was like, you just shoot past the joke, you know what I mean, and go to something else stupid.
I feel like that's probably a joke where, like, in the script, it's written as Jonathan IKEA, but then Barry Bostwick is like, let me try it this way, and then just gives it the full.
I agree. It feels like it was punched up because then they do a follow-up joke about, him coming up with the idea, the brother coming up with the idea of like, why don't you make them put it together and it'll be 800 pieces and it'll destroy relationships and all this stuff. And you're like, Jesus Christ. Like now this is the most hackneyed bit I've ever heard in my life. But the Jonathan IKEA Furniture was the highlight of that whole scene. Yeah, I mean, this is like, these are fucking Simpsons bits here. Like the the boldness of the just like, we're not even going to make it seem like somebody would do this to make a movie. Anne Sullivan, she's like, goes and almost steps on a rake. She's blind, of course. She almost steps on a rake, but then instead steps to the side and onto a slip and slide, like a full on tarp that is just going down the hill and just slides down into like the mouth of a waiting night wolf. Like I actually, it was just silly enough for me to like make note of it, but I wouldn't call it funny. I would just call it silly. Like I didn't laugh at it, but I was like, that's silly.
Like, I mean, it could have been funnier, but also you've seen so mmany bits like that in other like Police Squad and Airplane and stuff of like, they're going to lead you, it's leading you A to B, but they swerve to C and fall down the slip and slide. But like, I don't know. Yeah. It could have been filmed funnier. This was hard because it's hard to even tell because it's dark out. So like, it's hard to even tell like what she fell down. Yeah. Well, and here's the best, honestly, this might be the best gag in the movie. And like, even though that was kind of a lame gag, at least it served to set this one up. This is the one I thought was the funniest in the movie for whatever reason. They then cut to, they have several little interludes where you get back to St. James Street James in his like, study and with his assistant and all this stuff. And he does little quick explanations of like why he did this and why he didn't do that. So it's almost like a, in the actor studio type of thing, or behind the scenes, whatever. And he explains that the real actress in the movie, which is to say the fake actress on the fake set of the fake movie within a movie kind of thing, really lost her leg via a wolf attack during that movie, during that scene. She was actually killed.
And that she was actually killed. And he goes, I know. This was a genuinely funny line. I know it looked like a fake wolf, but it was actually a real wolf painted to look like a fake wolf.
It's so so stupid.
The idea of someone getting murdered on a movie set by accident by a real wolf that was painted to look like a fake wolf. Painted to look like a fake wolf is just, that's the whole guy. It sounded like a Conan O'Brien era Simpsons gag. So I think that's really why it just stuck with me. I know it looked like a fake wolf, but it was actually a real wolf painted to look like a fake wolf. That was the best gag in the movie to me. I genuinely laughed out loud at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a series of preposterous things leading up to that, with just like the weird physical comedy, and then she dies, and like while she's dying, she's uttering like goofy lines. And then we got to cut that off to inform you that actress is actually dead, and here's why she's dead. So, like, yeah,
it was almost Monty Python-ish. Yeah,
it's a good bit of just building preposterousness. So, yeah.
So, honestly, that was not only was that the peak of the movie for me, that was kind of I lost interest completely after that. Like the movie after that just could have ended there and I would have been happier. Like the last 20 to 30 minutes is like pretty boring. I thought there's a couple of okay scenes, but long story short, it's this whole like hero's journey thing. Helen goes and yells at everybody in the diner and tells the sheriff he's a piece of shit and that she's gonna have to destroy the Nightwolves and save the town, even though they're a bunch of assholes and making fun of her for being blind. So she has this like big training montage. One of the only other bits really in the last, like I said, almost the last half of the movie, if not certainly the last third of the movie, was when she wipes shit all over Jonathan's face.
Yeah.
When she's tracking the Nightwolves and she's like, I found them, smell this. And she just wipes it all over his face. He's like, Nightwolf shit. It's odorless. That's how I could tell.
Yeah.
It's just like, I honestly got the feeling he maybe was just ad-libbing some of that.
The
joke then goes on to, she found it in an outhouse. So the joke was that she found human shit and had just wiped it on his face. And she's blind, so she didn't realize she wiped it on his face. And he's okay with it. And then the joke is she's saying it's Nightwolf shit, but she keeps saying things that would suggest that it's people shit.
Right.
So that's the joke. That's the A to the B. But I firmly believe Barry Bostwick is punching this up because he's suggesting that the things that would make it be human shit actually reinforces why it's Nightwolf shit.
It's odorless. And it's
It's odorless. And then he's like, I found it in an outhouse. And he's like, that means they've taught themselves to use outhouses. That means they're getting stronger.
Yeah. And there's like a magazine. There's a magazine, and he's like, it means they're close. They've been reading this magazine.
Once they finish the magazine, that means they're about 24 hours away or whatever. Like, that's why I say it feels like he was just improvising that. I'm not really sure if he was, but that was a good scene. I will say, like, you know, I just said the rest of the movie's trash, but that was pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say when he dies as well is also pretty funny. Because again, it's just him. Right. I mean, we're just saying Barry Bostwick's funny, which is like, duh. But like when he's dying, he's on the ground getting attacked by two taxidermied wolves, and he's just spouting these lines of like,
for such a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time of him just rattling off like why he's handsome, but he's like, but I'm not too handsome. Like I'm still in pretty good shape, but like, you know, like a real kind of grizzled, good-looking shape, but like people would respect me for looking this good.
At my age,
right.
You're like, yeah, he's just, yeah. I mean, that's like he really is. Like I said, there's some funny people in this, but like especially the second half of the movie, like he's the only reason to keep watching at this point. But there's a scene that, like, speaking of the Peter Griffin scraping his knee scene,
yeah.
That they literally do that scene almost. Like I almost forgot until I saw this in the notes, but they do this big build up before she goes on her hero's quest. She's trained, she's strong, she's tracked the bad guys. Now she's gonna fuck Barry Bostwick. And so there's this whole thing about the scene where they're about to fuck, and she's doing this whole seductive thing where she's like, follow me to the bedroom, blah, blah, blah. And she's being very seductive, but also like fairly, how do I put it? Like kind of elegant in her movement, like graceful in her movements. And then she turns and just walks straight into the wall and falls down. And they do the whole like, but she's just going, oh, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Oh, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And it goes on for like 90 seconds. Like it's just way too long. And it's not funny.
No, because
you saw it coming.
Because it's literally she's literally just doing not Peter Griffin, but the grape stomping lady from YouTube that we all remember that.
Oh, yeah, when she falls out of the thing. You're right. I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right. That is exactly what she's doing. I didn't even make that connection.
She's doing that exact dialogue of like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Stop. Oh,
stop. That's what she keeps saying. Stop. Like someone who just got the wind knocked out of them really badly. Like that's what she's doing. But then she does this like, he's like, are you okay? Doesn't know what to do. And like Barry Bostwick, you could tell he knew the scene wasn't funny. So he was trying, but he was like, didn't know how hard to lean in. And he's like, are you okay? Should I do something? And then she's like, I'm just fucking with you, dude. And it's like, I don't know. That was when I was just kind of done with the movie. I'm like, this has got to be over soon.
Yeah. It's so unfunny because like, it's something we already recognize from, real life. And we recognize it from Family Guy, and then there's not a good resolution after, like, because she just stands up and says, I'm just fucking with you. So you just literally just wasted everybody's time for 45 seconds or whatever, however long that scene goes. It's just like, ugh, enough.
You could tell like she wanted that scene to work really bad, and it just didn't work. And they kept it in that it should have been cut out. There's like kind of funny, like they didn't really execute it great, but there was a bit where they're getting ready to fuck and then it cuts, and it's because there's all these fog machines, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I think they could have made this a lot funnier because it's a funny idea. Is like all of a sudden they're getting ready to fuck and he's like, get on, all right, you can pretend I'm anyone in the world because she's deaf and blind, and you can pretend I'm anyone while we make love or whatever. And the funny thing would have been if like, you think she's going to like pretend he's the fucking Hamburglar or something weird. You know what I mean? But then all of a sudden, just people come in with smoke machines and just like kind of smoke them out. And they're like, what the fuck, get out of here. It's like somebody from the, again, fourth wall breaking kind of thing where the, stagehands come in or the effects people come in and they've like used too much smoke. But then it cuts to a law firm commercial.
Yeah.
And then the law firm, like the commercial's not funny. It's just like a parody of a cheaply made local law firm commercial. But then the St. James Street James comes on and goes to explain that he made all this money off of a lawsuit with that lawyer because someone crashed into, like, he got in an accident and someone destroyed his fog machines, his fog machine collection or something. And that's got to be a callback from a previous movie or something, right? Like that's kind of how I took it.
It might be a callback to Pool Boy, but I feel like it's not. I don't remember it because it's just so, like you said, it doesn't make sense the way it plays out because you had fog machines. Right. Now you're saying you lost your fog machines, and that's why you had to splice in a commercial for a law firm over top. Yeah.
Because you didn't have a sex scene, and he makes this big point to say, like, well, this is the only movie I didn't have a sex scene in, so I replaced it with a law firm commercial for this law firm that won this big case for me because somebody destroyed my fog machines.
Yeah. It doesn't, yeah, I don't know. The joke doesn't work. Whatever it is, like, I get you had some idea of something, but it just doesn't work in the end. The only thing that works is Edie Patterson again in the scene as Peters, just doing goofy shit behind him. Like,
she's just being silly.
Yeah, she's being silly. So you just focus on that and go, she was funny.
Yeah, she's just doing silly stuff. Funny, like Hot Shots type scene where the sword that was like, Barry Bostwick, like, crafted a sword to fight the Nightwolves with, and it says Natural Born Keller on it. It's like, it's a long way to go for that bit, but okay, it's funny. The funny part, like you said, is not only Barry Bostwick laying on the ground, just talking about like his insecurities about his appearance and stuff while getting eaten by Nightwolves, but the fact that it happens immediately in like 5 seconds, like not even 2 seconds. Like they're like, here's the showdown. We've been building up to it. And he's like, no, shit. And he's getting eaten. He's like, oh, that was quick. Like I didn't expect to get killed so quick. Like really, really fast. Like there was no epic battle. It's just like this epic badass gets taken out in like literally the first second. After that, the fight scene is just like, it's not funny. It's just her like just an insanely stupid fight scene, fighting off stuffed animals and little, kind of clipped static images of wolves and just like a bunch of non sequitur jokes, like just kind of plugged in of her just like screaming non sequiturs and things. And then the sheriff shows up and kills a Nightwolf and they're all dead. And then they go back to the diner and he makes her a sheriff too. And it's just like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, how much is long in this movie? Because it's just all, it's just none of it's funny. There's this whole scene that's just a mess at the end, which they were trying to make it just like a, I took it as it was like a Monty Python style, like Life of Brian, like sprint to the finish type of ending where there's just chaos happening because everyone in the diner is like laughing and then they're like dancing and it's just it's just not landing. And I'm like, God damn, this movie, like it's got to be over, right? And then it cuts to just a still image in dedication of Dale Earnhardt, 1955 to or whatever, 1945 to 2001 or whatever. And then it got me again at the end. I was like mad that I laughed because I was like, the last 15 minutes of the movie, I'm like, God, when is this going to be over? And then in memory of Dale Earnhardt, and I laughed because that is like a really common joke that my brother and I do all the time, is just to dedicate everything to Dale Earnhardt and put up a 3, like the like 3 fingers. Yeah. Anytime anybody, people like, do the like Sammy Sosa, like, kiss the plus, peace up, yeah. Kind of thing. Or like, do the cross sign of the cross or whatever, to like remember something sad or tragic that happened. My brother and I, for 2 decades, every single time somebody does something like that, we always just look up and hold on number 3 to Dale Earnhardt. And it's just a thing that we do. And then we say some dumb, like we go, hell yeah, dude, if you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing. We just say something stupid about Dale Earnhardt or something derogatory about raise hell, praise Dale. Yeah, we've done that one recently. Or the other one we like to do is say something derogatory about Jeff Gordon.
Oh, okay.
Because so this goes back. This is a complete non sequitur. I think you'll appreciate it. Nobody at home will, but Steve, you might.
Yeah, sure.
So my family, my mom's side of the family, were huge NASCAR fans growing up. And they're like, listen, no disrespect, they're my family, but they're pretty hardcore rednecks. Okay. And they are diehard NASCAR fans and specifically diehard Dale Earnhardt fans. And when Dale Earnhardt died, it was like, I remember my cousin who's my age, like he didn't go to school for a week.
Oh, wow.
Like, they were devastated. And literally my uncle named one of his kids Dale after when Dale Earnhardt died. Like that's some real shit. You know what I mean? And
is his middle name Junior?
No, because this was before Dale Jr. was the shit. This is when Dale Jr. was just starting.
Yeah.
Now then they were Dale Jr. fans, and then I don't even know if they do anymore. But like they race stock cars, literally.
Oh, okay.
Like this is like a thing they do. They do as well. So like they're really into like racing culture and all this stuff. But we would always. So this was just a joke we would always do about like peace up to, you know, if you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing, you know, raise hail, praise Dale kind of stuff. And so that just as a non sequitur, and just like Dale Earnhardt memes, we're constantly sending each other, you know, it's a great day to kill God and all this stuff with Dale Earnhardt standing on top of the number 3 car. And so that just non sequitur just really hit home for me on a personal level. Yeah. So I like laughed out loud at in memory of Dale Earnhardt, because of course it means no fucking sense. We're talking about Helen, Keller, and Nightwolves, and all of a sudden in memory of Dale Earnhardt.
Right? Yeah.
Or like that meme. I literally just sent a meme to my brother the other day, and my other friend Adam. Like we send memes to each other and stuff all the time, where it's just like it's a picture of Dale Earnhardt making a mean face, and it's like, hey, can you just and it's like when someone suggests you should let your niece win 1 round of Mario Kart. It's just like Dale Earnhardt making a mean face. Oh man. So, and that's fucking it, guys. That was the movie. It's bonkers, and it's bonkers it's bonkers in a they care way. Like it's not made without care, you know what I mean, which I appreciate. It's slapped together, but it's very it's slapped together with a lot of love and care, I'll say. So I do appreciate it for that. Mm-hmm. They really wanted this to be funny. They really got funny people. They had some good bits. The writing is mediocre with a few good, you know, shining parts, but most of it is that, you know, they got some really talented people to deliver the bits and make them work.
Yeah. I mean, we mentioned how like Alana has like good physical acting. And one of the ones that always catches me is just like when the Nightwolves first attack, she does a full lean back and then huge step to exit stage left to get off camera. It's the funniest fucking thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. Like, I feel like we didn't talk about her a lot because she doesn't have a lot of, like, I'm remembering now going through my notes. She doesn't actually have a lot of good lines. She has a lot of good physical bits.
Yeah.
Like, or just like little nods and stuff like that. She's like I said, she's got such good like physicality and like physical comedy skills that like after somebody makes a joke that is like medium funny to not funny, and they'll cut over to her and she'll just kind of like do some like affirmative head gesture,
right,
and a wacky face, and it's funny.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's like one of the funnier bits, and it's funny because it's so quick that you can miss it, is like there's a scene where they're all at the dinner table and she just imparts like some wisdom or delivers a line or something, and then she drinks a candle. She drinks a lit candle and like doesn't acknowledge it at all, but it's like because she's blind.
Well,
she
and
picks
not
up
only is it a lit candle, it's one of those fucking battery powered candles too.
Yeah, like we're supposed to believe that it's like a real candle or something, but it is all just battery powered like Halloween decoration candles.
Yeah, and I do think that, like, honestly, that's why I think that most of the funny parts of this movie were probably improvised or punched up by the performers like on set, because you could tell they had just like carte blanche to do whatever the fuck they wanted. And I
mean, not to bag on her too much, but like as characters die off and you're left more and more with what's her name, Jessie Wilson or Jessie
Wiseman. Right? Wiseman?
Yeah, Wiseman. Yeah, the more you're left with Helen Keller, played by Jessie Wiseman, the less funny the movie is, because like she just doesn't have it. Like she doesn't have...
No, she's a fine protagonist to just move the story forward, but all the funny parts are everybody else. I mean, she does a couple, like I said, the Jenga bit and stuff. Like she does a pretty good job with physicality, but like, yeah, she's not... a comedic performer on the same level as some of these other people.
Yeah, which is why she only appears in Ross Patterson films. So, like,
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like I don't want to bag on her too much, but like, yeah, she like it's once it becomes hinged on her, you're just kind of like, ugh, all right.
there's a pretty significant gap that you can tell in like experience and comic.
Mm-hmm.
In any case, would I suggest it? Nah, sure. If you're in a silly mood and you get some of that devil's cabbage, some of that jazz cabbage, and you roll yourself up a joint and you want to watch something silly and fall asleep halfway through, boy howdy, this is a great movie to do that on. But yeah, absolutely worth it for like a few of the bits that we've suggested. But we also did just spoil them for you, so whatever.
Yeah.
But that was your fault. You listened to the podcast, you dumbass.
Dummy.
Yeah, nice job, dummy. You ruined this YouTube only movie for yourself.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, I enjoyed it up until about the last 20 minutes, and then it became a little bit of a slog. But
yeah, I'll say I wouldn't suggest it simply because his previous films are so much better. I'll say like definitely go watch FDR American Badass because it's all Barry Bostwick and Lin Shaye, because Lin Shaye plays Eleanor Roosevelt. So it's the two of them back and forth, and the plot is, it's World War II, except for Hitler and Hirohito and Mussolini are all werewolves. So
okay, listen, I'm on board. I'm on board for that. I'll go watch that. And that does sound, you have more experience with this guy. So if you're going to watch that, go watch that on Tubi. That's probably a better use of your time. Okie dokie, guys, that's it. That's Helen Keller versus Nightwolves. Reminder, keep an eye out this week on the social medias. Go follow us on Instagram so you get the stories. Go follow us on the Twitter. So you see that poll when it comes up, because we need your help voting on that February showdown episode. Again, reminder, Stephen King adaptations, musical horror. It doesn't have to be a musical. It could just be a music themed about a band, about a musician, whatever. Or just broadly best novel adaptations. So interested to see if we get one of them literary topics this time around. If you also have suggestions for any of those three, or perhaps even after the voting has completed, if you have some suggestions for us on the topic that won and say, hey, you might not have thought about this movie, check it out. Please let us know, because we're always looking to figure out what the competitive advantage we might get out there from a movie that we might not be thinking about. So, cool. Steve, anything else we forget about?
Tune in next week because we'll be making up our December punishment with House 2.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun. Old friend Brandon Getz from the that was on our December showdown episode, and repeat guest, old friend. He gave us a showdown episode. He's going to join us to talk about his punishment episode. So we get a little bit of a gap there, so we can give Brandon a break from us, and then he's going to come back, and he's been kind enough to come talk to us about House 2. And I got very excited on the last episode. It took me a moment, because when somebody said House 2, I heard Houseu, and I got really excited, and I thought it was going to be about Houseu, but no, it's House 2, which is also fun. And listen, anybody when you start talking Cheers cast members, I'm on board. I haven't seen House 2 in a while. I remember it's pretty bonkers, and there's a lot of wacky puppets popping out of closets and shit like that, as I recall. So that should be fun to talk about. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else we should talk about here?
Nah, man, that's it. We did good.
That's it. That's the podcast. All right. Well, that being said, like I said, check us out on the social medias. And also, I didn't mention at the top of the show, but if you want to go on to your podcatcher app, you want to be, just be a dude, be a pal about it. Go rate us on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify or whatever. Give us 5 stars and write a little, hey, this is a cool podcast. And if you do that and you send me a DM, or Steve a DM, and say, hey, I reviewed your show, you guys are all right, I'll send you some fucking stickers in the mail. If you got a place to put a sticker, right? You're looking at a boom box, right? You're looking at a desk. You're looking at a cooler. You're looking at your infant child's forehead, and you say, boy, howdy, I would like to have a little pumpkin sticker on there. Hit us up. Do us a review. I'll send you some stickers. All right. That being said, for the Halloween's Forever crew, I'm Brian.
And I'm Tony Stewart.
No, you're not. All right. If you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing. Bye.
Bye.
That's Dale Earnhardt descending into hell only to rise again on the third day. Bye.